Okay, the meeting of the Finance Committee to continue budget deliberations is open. Those present are Chairman Ed Swartz. I'll call your name if you just say you're here. Peter?
Here.
Robert?
Here.
Catherine?
Here.
And Mr. Perry is notified us that he would be absent tonight. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Pacheco because I believe you need to open up your selectmen's meeting.
Sure, the Board of Selectmen's meeting is now open. This is a Zoom meeting, so I would ask that my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen to identify themselves. Lennon Hull
Present.
and Ken Pacheco is the other Board of Selectmen member that's present also. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. So we continued our meeting last week. I think we got through the majority of budgets. We have to go back and talk about a couple of them again, and then get through the special articles, but I think we should be able to finish up this evening. So I think from an update standpoint, based on our recommendations that we had done to date, we were at about, and Mr. Roach, correct me, about 325,000 over the levy limit. 345. But does that, Chris, did you include in that the discussion we had on changing some of the receivables?
Yeah, so Ed, I think what I missed, right? So what I've done is I've updated the new growth estimate to $250,000.
Yep.
The one thing I haven't addressed yet is the local receipts for licenses. So I highlighted it right now. I haven't made a change, so I wasn't sure what the committee had
I think we
about
were
as
going to
far
go
as-
to we were going to go to 228 on that number.
228.
Yep.
Okay. Is everyone good if I change all three columns there to 228?
That's fine.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're good. We're better now. Now, one of the other things I want to bring to the committee's attention, after conversation with the police chief today, we determined that part of the problem was that the lieutenant's position was added to the full-time salary line item, which is why it had gone up so much and why everything seemed to be overstated. So now the number that you see there as far as departmental request is concerned is accurate based on adjustments to the chief's request. Lowering
What you have, I just have to question, what you have down as our bottom line, does that take into account all of the recommendations that we made?
it does now, yes.
And does take into account the chief's 92,000?
It does. I left his, so Ed, what I didn't do is I didn't adjust his original request was $99,000 and some change.
Yeah.
I left it alone, even though the board and Mike have recommended to $92,000. If you want me to change it, I'll change it. It's not a problem.
Yeah, that number doesn't make sense to me because Peter, you were at 325, right, last week?
325 before the extra 75 of revenue.
And that was before we added the 25 to the revenue and the 50 to that. So that should have put us at 225, no, 250. And then the chief's close to $100,000 that was in the budget should have put us down to about 150. So somewhere we're doubled, somewhere something's not coming up right.
Okay. All right.
So can you go to the police department budget?
Sure.
We'll start with that one. That's what budget number is that?
Sorry, 210.
Okay, thank you. I just want to open it up in front of me so I can manipulate. So Chief, total, currently total, we have how many full-timers?
Right now, on the books, we have, not counting me. Oh, you want to count me? That's
No, I'm
fine.
not counting you.
Okay.
Full-timers, including the sergeants.
We have 12, okay? And
Yep.
that's not counting Sergeant McGuirk that I'm going to replace. So that would be 13. And then the COVID officer, what I use as an example, would be 14.
Okay, so we have, in the current FY '21 budget, we have 14
Yes.
full-time officers.
Yes, you want to count that? If you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
count the
yeah.
one, well, yes, so for 14, yes.
Okay, so that's what we have budgeted. In this new budget, if you take out yourself and the new lieutenant's position, how many, in that 950,000, how many full-time officers are budgeted?
14.
14, okay,
Yep.
okay,
If you take out, if you look at that 950,000, Ed,
yeah,
that line right there is full-time, that's budgeting 14 officers.
14 officers, 3 sergeants and the rest patrol officers.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So the 30, what makes up the 33,965? Is that just contractual?
That- Yeah, that is, hold on, let me just get that, because I have that written down. Give me a second. Hold on, Ed.
Yep.
Okay, that would be, Eddie, looking at 3 officers in the upcoming year would be anniversary dates.
Yep.
That would be a sergeant, another sergeant, and there's one other thing, that's why I put that increase of 33 there, Ed.
Okay.
Okay? I
And
have
then-
it here.
Chris, did we get our reimbursement from the school on the resource officer even during COVID?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay. So my question on the 99,000, Chief, is do we necessarily have to budget that education at this time? Or it doesn't necessarily, depending on who becomes that lieutenant, because you do have some education funding built into your full-time officers, right? That we could adjust in the fall?
We could do that in the fall, Ed, yes.
Okay,
We could adjust that in the fall, and the thing is too, Eddie, there's negotiations right now, so that's, that could be looked in the fall. We had a discussion about that, me and the town administrator.
okay.
Because I really can't say that, who it will be right now.
Yep,
Education-wise, I don't know that right now.
okay. So I'm gonna make the following recommend, actually, before I make my recommendations, I'll open up if anybody on the committee has any questions.
Nope.
Peter or Robert?
Good.
Okay, so Chief, just a couple of things. So I would recommend that we fund the lieutenants in 5109 at 92,000. And then that based on adding a full additional offer at 92 and looking at our actual expenditures for 20 and 19, and knowing that we're going to have an additional patrolman filled from the position that was open this year, that I'm asking if you would agree with us, and we recommend on the overtime line that we started with 230, and we'll review it again in the fall, depending on how quickly you get your offices back up and running and in full.
So this would be added to a full-time line, an additional officer for this FY '22, you're saying, right?
Well, the one that you have in there, the numbers that you talked about, we'll recommend funding the full-time officers at 950 as you requested.
Yep.
And then the reserves, the resource officer at what you requested. The lieutenant's position at 92, and we'll talk about the education incentive after you fill the position. And then everything else would stay the same with the exception of budgeting overtime at 230 instead of the 240 that's requested. Just to see how things fall, knowing that we'll review overtime again in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to give it a chance to shake out with the number of people that you have, and then you can look at it. And once you get everybody through the academy and stuff, you can sit back down with us in the fall and we'll talk about overtime.
Yes, so this 950 is gonna cover the replacement of Sergeant McGuirk,
Yep,
that COVID person, and then a new one in FY '22.
that's what the 950 covers? Yes, yeah, I understand. But that covers a new person, but that replaces the one that you've moved down to be the lieutenant, correct? Because
Yes.
you just said that you're gonna have 14, right?
Hold on. Yeah, so if you're looking at what I'm counting on here, give me a minute. So if you're looking at, we're replacing Dave, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is COVID. Now I'm looking at a new one for FY '22, so that possibly could be 15. But but the money is there already for the ones replacing David and the new guy.
Well, what about who replaces if one of your current officers gets the position as the lieutenant? But that
Right,
position's
right.
already in the budget, right?
Yeah, the money's already in the budget, and the lieutenant, we have a line for the lieutenant. Yes, correct.
Okay, so you're
Yep.
not looking for anything more than the 950 you have requested on here?
Yes, because we're putting another line for lieutenant, and that would be money in there for another man. Yes.
Okay. So the only question I have is, and I just, because we all like to be aligned, that we are gonna recommend 230 in the overtime line.
Okay.
And then we'll review it again in the fall.
Yeah, it probably will have to come back and review that because, because of contract negotiations, that could all change,
Well,
and that could.
we know we have to review the whole budget once we get into the fall
Yep,
anyway.
exactly.
So, all right, so
Okay, yeah, so, yeah,
my recommendation will be on the police department 210, that on personnel expenses, that it be, if you can just so I have a right number, Chris, can you change the full-time officer to 230 for a second on the department request?
Yeah,
So just so I can have a right number, and then change that to 92,000 even.
oh, sorry,
Yeah, I'm sure you'd like to get paid 9.2 million.
I would.
So okay, so the recommendation would be on personnel expenses, 1,607,674.67. And being slide down, and 100, and then expenses of operating expenses of 161,500 for a total recommendation of 1,769,174.67. Is there a motion?
So
Eddie, what's
moved.
that top line?
Sorry.
Motion.
Eddie,
Robert
what's
made motion, second. 1 second, chief. Is there a
Okay.
second
Second.
on discussion? Chief, go ahead.
On the top one, right?
Yep.
What's the total? 1607, you said?
Yep, 1607, 674.
674?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. You got that, Chris?
Yep, I've got that.
Okay. All right, so where did we leave off? Let's see.
I thought it was the ADA, but the ADA budget last week, but we could have gone further.
I think we actually made a recommendation on the ADA budget.
Yeah, that is correct. Let's see, how far did we get? Sorry, Ed.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks like the ADA budget was the last recommended budget that we did last week.
And that's budget number what?
549.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess we'd be picking up from the sewer enterprise fund and moving forward. Which is Department 600.
Yep. So I would recommend that we recommend the sewer budget with the exception of line 5101 and 5102, that we take that 9572 out, which is the 2%.
Okay. So if you were to use either the TA's recommendation or the Board of Selectmen's recommendation, they've been reduced down to, actually I take that back, no, they have not. Let me back that out for a second. Okay.
Motion to recommend the sewer enterprise fund of 115,380.88 in salaries and
Sorry.
expenses of 369, 168.87 for a total of 484, 507.25.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Hearing none. Robert? Catherine?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. Any questions on workers' comp? Motion to recommend workers' comp at the departmental request.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Hearing none. Robert?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Group health insurance. Is there a motion to recommend the departmental request of $1,215,744.39?
So moved.
So moved.
Catherine, we'll give you the second on that one. On discussion?
Sounds good.
Catherine?
Aye.
Peter? Take a silent aye. Robert?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Employee contributions. I'm assuming since we, so one at five, yeah, okay. Is there a motion to recommend the departmental request of 82,000 on employee contributions of Medicare?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
On discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh, Robert,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Catherine,
aye,
chairman votes aye. OPEB, so I think we had a discussion on this earlier with the treasurer, that at this time, until we get certified free cash, and we are ahead of the curve. So my expectation in the fall is we would make a contribution to OPEB. But in order to meet our obligations for getting as close to a zero over the levy limit into town meeting without final numbers, I would recommend that we do not fund any at this time into OPEB. So if someone want to make a motion to recommend zero as for account 919.
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
Second.
On discussion? Catherine?
aye,
Robert?
Aye.
Peter? And chairman votes aye. And this will be a priority in the fall, because we want to try and get as much ahead of that curve, because it is a long way for us to catch up, so. Tuition, so can, if the town administrator can just fill us in on why this request is doubling from where we were before?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From what I understand, at the beginning of the budget process, the Board of Selectmen's office made an inquiry of all departments, with the exception of the police, I believe, because their tuition is funded within the police budget based on the collective bargaining agreement, is based on the interest that the town received back from departmental employees. There was actually significant interest, and the budget recommendation was made as such based on the response.
Because this is a budget for many years that never, ever got used. So is this across the board interest, or is it interest that we'll have $18,000 sitting around that won't get spent? I mean, what is the interest? I mean, what have people signed up for classes that we know of?
So,
Ed, if I could, Mike, just to jump in if
Yep.
you don't mind.
Yep.
I can tell you, Ed, that I have 3 personnel in my department that are using this to the exact $3,000 amount every year.
Yep.
But that's just the 3 in my department, just to speak towards that. So,
Yeah, and they've used it for how many years, Chris?
probably 2 now.
2. So it's basically the fire department who's been using the budget for the last 3 years. Is there interest that is confirmed committed to outside of the fire department?
yes, you can see in the notes that there are an additional 3 employees. There are the 3 fire department employees actually in the other column. Like increased budget based on the number of employees to take college courses, which is 6. That's a number of employees.
Yep,
Like in 3 of those are fire department employees.
yep. So at this point, since we've continued until we see who's truly signs up in the fall, and they actually don't get their reimbursement till after the class, if I'm correct, right?
That's correct.
I would recommend the finance committee fund this at $12,000. And we will take a look at if it needs to be replenished funded in the fall based upon what classes people sign up for. So we'll actually have a
Real
better
number.
idea of it. So I would recommend that we fund that at $12,000.
Yes.
So moved.
Is there a second
second,
on discussion? Robert,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Kevin? Oh, Kevin's not here. Catherine?
Oh, sorry, aye.
I got confused.
So did I.
Okay, so next up is I'm hoping the next two budgets are zeros.
They are.
Oh, phew. That's always a positive. So on the liability insurance, that's a good number, that 125.
Yes. Yes, it might be a little bit of a buffer because our insurance policies are being actually rewritten as we speak. But there are claims that are like out there. So we could always adjust down, but I like having that number based on the where we stand right now, Mr. Chair.
Okay, okay. All right, is there a motion of the departmental recommendation request of 125 for budget 945 liability insurance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second on discussion? Peter? Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think we've skipped over some budgets that we didn't address last week, starting with
Okay.
library 610.
I thought we did that when Jocelyn was here, but that's okay. We can go back to that.
Peter, I didn't have anything. I'm not sure if I don't recollect the committee actually making a recommendation last week. Do you have different?
Changes, so I'm going to assume no.
Okay.
So is there a motion to recommend 199, 235, 66, and 71, 374 for a total of 270, 609, 66? The
Actually,
department,
sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Jocelyn's calculation on her salary is incorrect.
okay,
TA recommendation and the board recommendation is correct.
I will adjust that. So I'll amend the recommended motion to reflect $200,356 in personnel expenses and $71,374 for a total of $271,730.06 for library budget 610.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Hearing none. Catherine?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. So,
Department 630, Parks and Recreation.
okay. And I see Mr. Smith here, so I give you the floor for a couple minutes if you'd like it.
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I know how much you love hearing from me. I think I've talked more in your meetings than I
No
have.
problem.
So I think a couple weeks ago, when you guys met, we had a couple questions on some items. So myself and the town administrator met up. We got the last 5 years budgets from the accountant, and we reviewed everything. We did make some small adjustments. Mr. Schwartz, did you happen to get that email that?
I did, but I hadn't had a chance to look at it, Kevin. I can do that right now. The town administrator forwarded it to me.
Yeah, I have it up if you want me to kind of just read off the
Sure,
line items real
Sure,
quick.
sure.
All right, so the 5210 stays at zero. There's no money being spent there. What we found is typically over the last 5 years, the equipment repairs and maintenance number, the money allocated has got spent. So we'd like to keep that at 16,500. And then for professional and technical, we did a little discovery on that. And I guess there was a chunk of money that was requested in the previous fiscal year for purchasing supplies for the Easter egg hunt and pumpkin painting party, which I think it's just a difference of opinion, but to me, that's not professional and technical. That's something else. So what we would actually like to do is if we can change line item 5,300 to $500, because there might be some needs that come up that fit under that category.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to make it 0, but I think 500 is a good number to keep that at. And then what we did, and then with 5,350 recreational supplies, we pulled some of that money out of professional technical and put it into that. So I'd like that number to be 3,200 instead of 2,200. And then under additional equipment, which could, we might need something special for a project, 500 on that line. So which we decreased from 2310 down to 20,700.
We appreciate that.
So yeah, I think I'm going to try to do more with less. So
I do have a question about the current budget.
Sure.
Do you believe that you'll spend all of that 23,000 that's remaining in fiscal 21 in the next 8 weeks, 6 weeks?
Well, actually we do. And it's going to come up. I have a request for spending. There's a couple pretty big maintenance projects. I don't think we're going to use all of it, but I'm going to try to use some of it because there's a fair amount of maintenance needs within the Parks Department.
Okay, no, that's fine. It's just trying as we look at what's been spent through March and try and get a handle on what will be free cash once we get end of year receipts. It's good to know that some of that will be coming back this year.
If I had to can I give you like a wild guess? Is that
no,
Okay.
Not necessary. Not necessary.
Okay, no.
You don't want me to hold you to anything, Kevin, so don't give me.
No, I don't. And I just like, so we're right now we're going down because I think that we can make that budget work, but I'm kind of still getting my feet wet and stuff. And like I said, there's a fair amount of maintenance needs, but I think we're going to be good.
Okay.
We may have to revisit in the fall, but I think we're going to be all right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Administrator, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, just at the new Parks and Rec chair, as he mentioned, we did have a conversation. We looked, I actually took a 5-year look back. The FY 20 and 21 were outliers, and this really reflects what we found. So.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to recommend the newly submitted departmental request of 20,700?
So moved.
So moved and seconded on discussion. Hearing none. Catherine?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
And the chairman votes aye.
Next
Thank you.
department is town historian, 690. Okay.
No request.
And we didn't spend it. I don't know the last time we actually spent any money out of that account.
I can tell you here in a second. We haven't spent any, at least on the last two prior fiscal years prior to fiscal 21. So apparently your town historian is not taking her stipend.
So there is a stipend attached to it. So I guess by
It says professional and technical, but I think they're actually paying your town historian with that money.
all right, for the sake of just to be safe on it, I would recommend that we fund it at its regular $250. But I would like to confirm it once we go forward after this that it is a stipend. If it is professional and technical, technically in the next go around, we could reduce it, but I would recommend 250. Is there a motion?
Just, Chris, why would their stipend be in professional and technical?
Honestly, I think it's been this way for, I could be completely wrong on that, Peter. notice that it's always been budgeted under 5,300. The 250
Okay.
would actually be to hire somebody to do some, to do some program for the benefit of the historical commission. I always thought it was a stipend for the town historian. I could be completely wrong on that one.
Okay.
And again, nothing's been spent at least in the last last two, this current fiscal year and the two prior. I can certainly do a look back and find out when the last time we spent money. And I can get back to the committee on that.
Yeah, because the historical commission has money in a professional and technical account, so.
Yes, they do. They've got 750 for themselves.
Yeah, so. Still recommend for now, we leave the $250 in there. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Robert,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Next budget is historical commission, which is 691.
Yep. So Ken, you might have some more information on historical commission than the rest of us. So we funded it at $2,000. They, in FY19, they spent nothing. Doesn't look like they're gonna spend quite even $1,000. Is it necessary to budget it at $2,000?
Yeah, all I can say is for the last, this past year, because of COVID, they haven't been able to do anything, but they've done research. They've bought archival boxes to preserve the items that they have in the safe at the town hall in the past. Professional, technical communications. I'm not sure they're doing any communication. I would not be, they may get upset with me, but I would not be opposed to reducing this somewhat.
Yeah, so I would recommend that we reduce 5240 to 0, 5300 to 450. That's 400. 5340 to 100. 5580 to 400. And 5710 to 100. I don't know what that totals. I'm trying
I've
to.
got $1,050, Peter.
All right, so put $50 back into one of the lines. We'll reduce it by $1,000.
All right, so it's, so I'm gonna make line item 5,300. I'm gonna make it $400.
That's fine.
There's $1,000 there.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a motion as listed as a recommendation to reduce that to $1,000 request.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Peter? Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye.
Next budget is cable committee, 698.
Motion as departmental request recommendation, because this comes out of the cable fund, right?
Yeah, we offset it completely exactly for the budget.
Motion as recommended, as requested by the cable committee.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Catherine?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter? And the chairman votes aye.
Okay, next one is maturing, and I apologize, gentlemen and lady. I don't recollect the finance committee actually making a recommendation on the debt budget, either the maturing principal or the maturing interest.
I thought we did last week. So I would recommend the departmental requests on both long-term debt maturing long-term debt and interest on long-term debt.
So moved.
For a second,
Second.
on discussion? Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. There is no short-term debt.
There is no short-term debt, correct.
There is something in interest on short-term debt.
Oh, there is?
Oh, yeah, why?
I see nothing on it when I'm looking at it.
Recommendations, TA and BOS.
Oh,
I'm not sure why we recommended $25 there, $25 there. I definitely don't anticipate the town ever having to borrow in anticipation of tax revenue. If anything, it would be either other interest or other short-term interest. Possibly a refund on a tax abatement would be the only reason you'd ever issue something out of budget here.
right. There is no,
So
And there's no request right now.
department request.
there is none.
There is no request right now. So I don't know where the $25 is coming from right now.
If I could answer, Mr. Chair, I think during the TA and the Board of Select recommendation, the $25 was, I believe, placed there as a placeholder, just really to keep the line item open in case 752 needed to be used at any point throughout the fiscal year.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't think we've ever funded it unless we needed to fund it.
Okay, that's fine.
So. Any other ones, Chris?
I'm just trying to, why can't I? Oh, there we go. Let's see, retirement and. Yep, same thing. Retirement. Sorry, let me check one back. Was that the last one? Showing debt. Yeah, interest on short-term debt. The retirement contribution. So this is the annual assessment that we paid at Bristol County.
So we obviously had additional, we have additional employees, so we have additional retirement contribution, so.
That's part of it, and then it's also, so there is there's a pay-as-you-go part feature to it, and there's also an actuarial study that the county does as well. So it's a combination of both now.
Which is the reason why the county is at a much higher level of OPEB than the municipalities are, because they can put a surcharge every year so they can get to that higher level.
They actually have a funding mandate by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and Iraq.
Yeah.
The full funding is supposed to occur at the earliest fiscal 2030, at the latest fiscal 2032.
And I think the last time I looked, Bristol County was at almost 70%. So
They're closing in.
yeah. So the motion to fund retirement and pension contribution at departmental request of $890,368.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
on discussion, Peter?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye.
The only other one, and I apologize to the finance committee in advance, I sent an email earlier this afternoon or late this afternoon regarding my budget. I goofed on the budget for the annual audit. My request, I think my original request is $20,000. I need to increase that request to $21,500 to cover the contract.
Is there a motion to revise the town accountant's budget on the audit line to 21.5?
So if I could, Mr. Chairman, going back into the earlier lines, I believe the town administrator budget, the town accountant budget in full, the assessors and the treasurer and tax collector don't actually have FinCom recommendations yet.
Okay, we can go back to those.
Okay.
Okay. So with that being said, I would request that the town accountant budget reflect $127,073 in personnel expenses and $26,240 in operating expenses for a total of, if you can scroll down there,
Yep.
$153,313.65. Is that in the form of a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On discussion? Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye.
So we're going back to Department 124, which is the town administrator's budget.
Yep. So on this one, so we can, the recommendation should be on the salary line to be at 120, Mike?
That's
For your
correct.
conversation?
Yes.
Okay, so if you just want to change that, so I have numbers to read from. Is there any other changes to that budget, Mike?
No, that should even out across the board, and it does.
Okay, so Finance Committee recommendation to be $157,690.77. Personnel expenses and $9,410 on operating expenses for a total of $167,100.77.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Peter,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye.
Next budget, Finance Committee, Department 131.
And we didn't make a recommendation on that?
I didn't, if we did, unfortunately, I did not get it in the Finance Committee recommendation. I don't know if Peter's got something different.
Motion to approve the fiscal 22 departmental request of the Finance Committee.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
Second.
on discussion? Hearing none. Robert,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
and Chairman votes aye.
Next is the reserve fund.
So Peter, where are we number wise?
Got us
Based on your calculation?
80, about 88,000.
Okay. So I'm going to do a couple of quick things instead of, before we make a determination on the reserve fund. Can you jump over to the town council line, Chris? So we did this in the past when we were in some when our finances were a little tight. So I'm gonna at this point make a recommendation that we transfer, instead of doing this as a raise and appropriate, that we transfer $40,000 to fund the town council line to begin FY 22. That would get us almost to the levy limit before we even go into it. And based on, and then as we look at free cash, we will look at free cash on the regular articles. But I think if we use some free cash just to start to get us to a level funded budget, it will provide us a little bit of relief as we go forward. And then as we can always look at the council line additionally in the fall, because we won't, unless we have some big lawsuit out there that we don't know about, we should not be spending $40,000 between now and November.
Okay.
So how does the committee feel about that? I know you guys have been around when we did this in the past. I mean, we can leave it as a raise and appropriate and then adjust it with free cash in the fall. If necessary, we'll use more free cash to get under the levy limit. But I'm just trying to do it up front. Because ultimately, the first thing to utilize free cash on in the fall is to pay the note on the police station, so we don't have to use that debt exclusion for, tax relief. I don't know if the town administrator has any thoughts on that.
So that would be 40,000. Funding that line, Mr. Chair, at 40,000, but the funding source for that would be prior year free cash.
Yes, that is correct.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, like in going back to funding that to raise and appropriate, that's small enough of a number that wouldn't be difficult to go back to actually funding to raise and appropriate. So that makes sense.
Yep. It's just, I want to go into town meeting with a budget that is under the levy limit. And if, we can always amend this before we set the tax rate. That, all the free cash would be utilized anyway, because it would be voted on at annual town meeting, so. Any other thoughts? I mean, the other thought is we could do a recommendation of 40,000 backfill in the fall if we have to. And do it as a raise and appropriate, but that just gives us, we need to find that additional, what'd you say we're at, Peter, 80?
About 88.
So this would take up half of it right away. Actually, it would take up 50 of it because currently there's 50 in there, so it would put us at about 30, which we've gone into town meeting around 30,000, give or take, because it's all an estimate going into town meeting, but I'd feel comfortable going into town meeting with 35,000 rather than closer to 100.
I've got us with a $20,000 adjustment here already, so it would bring us down to about 58.
Yeah, so I would recommend 40,000 from free cash to fund departmental request. What number is that? 132 reserve fund, which is under the control of the finance committee anyway. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On discussion? Catherine?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
And the chairman votes aye. Okay. All right, so what other budgets do we have?
Accountant, I believe, right, Chris?
I'm sorry?
Your town accountant budget,
Yeah, town accountant's done.
assessor.
Assessors.
I think the whole financial team we might need to do.
Yeah, assessors budget needs to be voted or recommended rather.
Any questions on the assessor's budget? So what is the difference between the request and the TA and Board of Selectmen's recommendation?
It's in the area of 5155. My understanding is the assessor provided like an updated figure for the buyback based on the anticipated retirement. So she did one calculation and then she updated that calculation to a lower number.
So I do have to ask the Board of Selectmen this question. What on, for example, is this only the buyback prior to her being an elected official?
That is my, sorry, if I don't mean to speak for the board, but that is my understanding, that is her buyback prior to her becoming an elected
Okay.
official.
Do we have any past practice on situations like that? Because there's two situations right now between hers and the treasurer collector's request. And I don't want to set a precedent if we have already in the past not handled it in that way. Does anyone know?
I don't.
I don't, but I can certainly ask my former assistant. She'd have a better history than I, for sure.
Yeah, I just don't want to set precedent. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it. I just don't want to set precedent. Because they have been elected officials for quite a while, but they did both work in the town prior to that. But I don't know what I'm not sure really what happens when you leave a position to go to an elected position. You're not entitled, as an elected official, you're not entitled to that. But I don't know if we've ever had the situation in town. So I will, at this point, handle as what's requested, but prior to us meeting the night of annual, I'd like to have some better information on that.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the committee's feelings on that, about leaving it in there for now.
If it helps the committee can always take that money away in the fall. If we decide, if there's no precedent for it and it's your position that we shouldn't fund it at all, you could always go back and just reduce that budget in the fall.
Okay, all right. So I would make the recommendation that so it should be at the departmental request, Chris?
No, it should be at the Board of Selectmen recommendations
Okay.
request. Pete.
That's good. That
Sorry.
picks us up another $500, so. Or $2,000 actually. So I would recommend that we follow the Board of Selectmen recommendation on Department 141.
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Robert,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. And this would be the same thing, right? We'll get the same history on that because we added in the 9487. So this one would be that we recommend the FY22 departmental request as listed. Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Catherine,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Next up,
Tax collector.
same scenario. So I would accept a motion to recommend as listed in the FY22 departmental request on 146. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
On discussion? Robert,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
I think that could be it for the budgets. Am I correct?
I believe so, Mr. Chair.
Yep, that should be it. That should be
Okay.
everything.
So we're about little over 50,000. Which is on 56, which on 24 million is within. Think on my calculator. We are within less than 0.2%. So that, I think, so we just have to figure out where the difference is, Chris, between what Peter shows and you show. So
Okay.
could you guys Peter, could you call Chris tomorrow and go through that?
Yeah, I think I went through and while we were going and so, yeah, I'll go and.
Okay.
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman, There has been a request to revisit the Agricultural Commission budget.
Okay,
In part, the Briggs Garden that is being established and constructed due to COVID and the project, I mean, and really the time to do it just like actually coming up now because the building was recent, the Briggs house was recently demolished.
yeah,
The committee specifically looking at 5870. I've been told that the committee has plans to actually work to expend the 1130 and 5870 this year. And the FY22 request was based on the continuation of being able to like establish the garden. And I can hypothetically, like if the 1130 was continued into FY22, that would increase, rather than 435, that would bring the total bottom line up to 1695. Just as a hypothetical, as what?
so what is our recommendation currently? We didn't make a recommendation on that?
No, you did. Sorry, I've got the budget up now, 179.
Yeah.
Folks had recommended $1,000 last week for the total budget. Original request was $2,515.
So they're looking for the other $130 in replacement equipment?
The
1,100.
1100, the 1130, yes.
All right, so I would request that we change our recommendation from $1,000 to $1,130.
No, it would be a total bottom line of 1695.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so I think, sorry, I apologize, everybody. If you just vote that one line or you vote the whole total, it doesn't matter. I mean, as long as you get to 1695.
I would recommend 1695 for account 179. So Chris, but based on that, still in your front line right
Yeah.
now, what number is being used to come up with our total? The
So right
25
now, I'm using the departmental request total from each departmental budget
Okay,
on the excess capacity line item right now.
okay.
So right now, I have not changed this to reflect the finance committee's recommended.
Oh,
budget.
okay, so which is why it still says 300,000 at the moment.
Right.
Okay,
All
okay.
right.
All right, so I would recommend that 1695 number on agricultural. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second
Second.
on discussion? Robert?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. So after you do all those updates of the FinCon recommendation, Chris, can you send an email out to the committee, allow it with notifying us that the Google Doc is updated to reflect that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so let's get.
Sorry, if we can go back to the reserve fund for a moment, just so that I want to make sure that I'm on the same page with the committee. Sorry. Now, right now, you folks want to fund your intent is to fund reserve fund through free cash, correct?
No, only town council line is it.
Oh, only town council. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. What are we
I mean,
recommending?
it's
for
6
the
of one,
reserve
half
fund?
dozen of the
At
other. We could do
50?
we could do it as one or the other, so.
Okay. And
So the town council is at a 40,000 or a $30,000
I think it was at
appropriation?
30,000. Was it
Okay.
30 or 40? Chris, you wrote it on that front page.
so I put 40 on the front page, but coming from free cash, but the recommendation last week was to fund the budget at 30.
Okay, so But I thought we voted tonight 40, so,
All right, then I'll change, I'm gonna change the recommended amount to 40,000, if that's okay with the committee?
yep.
Done.
Okay. All right, you want to move to the special articles? 15 minutes, that's the goal.
Here we are.
So our current free cash, less the 40,000 is what?
Chris, on the column, actually, if you use the column G, that's
Yeah.
already loaded with the formula.
Okay. So total free cash used would be 664, 783, 58.
Oh, what is our starting balance of free cash?
900,612 is the starting balance.
And the ones we have to fund, the prior year bills, conservation and DR assessment total,
Total 664, 783, 58.
no, I'm just talking those three
Oh, those three, I'm sorry,
required, 260.
322,358.72.
So that leaves us 578 roughly. And then we just used 40,000, right?
Correct.
So we have about 538,000 left in free cash.
That's about right.
Okay. And if we were to fund everything that's on here, that would total 691,000.
I've got,
That's without the prior year bill, the DR assessment and conservation. From lines line 6 through line 15 in column E.
column G, sorry, I'm looking at column G right now, Ed, but so those requests minus the 3 special town meeting votes would total 342, 424.86.
And where the discrepancy is, based on the total cost of 691 in column E, that is a total cost, but that doesn't, there are a few funding sources that are available. So that's why that number is so high.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just wanted to understand that what is the total from row 6, column E to row 14, column E.
So the total of the free cash request minus the special town meeting request is 342, 424.86.
That just doesn't include the 1, 2, 3 items that were deferred.
That's correct.
In
That's
the
correct.
CPC.
So the question, if we funded, I'm using this as a hypothetical. If we funded each of the items from row 6 to row 14. Oh,
Actually, go to row 15.
right. Well, row 14 comes from another source. That doesn't come from.
Right.
So if we funded, well, that 40,000, we've already funded that. That was in the budget, right?
It was originally, but now you want to fund it from free cash rather
Yeah,
than
it
taxation.
doesn't, yeah, but it doesn't need to be funded through the special articles. It's funded through the budget as free cash, as the motion is free cash.
Got
You
it.
just put it as a separate line within that master sheet as the utilization of free cash of
Free cash.
$40,000. It doesn't come off of this special articles.
Yes.
So if we were to fund lines 6 through 13, which is a total of, which would be a full requested number, correct? What would that leave us in free cash?
275, 828. Sorry, let me,
Nope, as long as that number is good. But I think we did say the town hall reservation, renovations. We weren't gonna fund that at a full $90,000, but because we still had monies left, right? That we
Yeah,
were
what
still
was talked
working.
about on that? What was talked about on that, Mr. Chair, was actually deferring that entire article
Yeah,
to the fall to actually fully expend the prior appropriation to see where that takes us, and then I'll actually chart out like a phase 2, if you will, with additional funding at that time.
okay. And then is the police chief still on?
No, I don't believe so.
I
Yeah,
am
yeah.
it.
So Chief, I know you and I talked on the vehicle about going back to a car and testing that out rather than buying a full-fledged. What was the number on that?
I haven't got that, Eddie, yet. But
I know it was less than, it was around $40,000, I think, when we talked with Ryan on the phone.
yeah, it was about 35 to 40.
Okay,
But I don't have I can't say that's the exact figure, you know?
all right, so if we plugged in 40 rather than 62.8, that's a significant reduction. I personally, after reviewing it and actually talking to the fire chief, I would recommend whatever funding source we use for it, that we go with the 7-year lease purchase, because I think we all found when we did the last 10-year, that thing sat on special town meeting warrant what felt like an eternity. So I would highly recommend that we spend a little bit more and we reduce that by 3 years. Chief, I think you'd agree on that?
Wholeheartedly, Ed.
So Robert, I just, from a capital standpoint, does and I know, the town administrator or any of the other members of capital outlay could speak to this. Is there anything that's currently on here that would be something that we should look at from a capital standpoint?
I mean, you're looking at any of the equipment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our balance in capital stabilization is roughly 700,000, I believe. We've slowly drawn from it. We don't have a funding methodology in place, but that is one of the goals of the revamped capital outlay committee. Because we can't keep pulling money out without putting money back in to cover those costs plus some, so that we continue to increase that fund. But that's what we're hoping to accomplish in this next year, is how do we actually fund it? But from this standpoint, I would say you're probably looking at, we probably want to leave a balance of $500,000 at the least.
Okay. No,
So if we funded, that utility tractor and the, in the forestry truck, I think they take you right down to about 500K. And if the
Yeah,
forest,
I wasn't even looking at going that deep. I was looking at the forestry truck and then doing the road, the possibility of the other stuff out of what we have in remaining in free cash. And then we would look in the fall at, the three priorities should be to fund that debt exclusion and then put OPEB, and then we haven't really touched our regular stabilization account, but we need to look at our capital stabilization of building that back up. Because we did, we have used it for some significant purchases, including the $1 million we spent on the
Modulus.
at the school. So I'm with you on that, Robert, that we really need to protect that a little bit for purchases such as this, but not, completely handcuff ourselves when we do have a big capital project. Because it should be, if we decide to professionally, technically, or go and have to build, additional space or work on the library, those are capital expenditures. Though that's where that money should come from, rather than going to the taxpayers for it. So I would, based on the what we have for free cash, I would recommend that we fund $40,000 for a police vehicle from free cash, the $64,000 on the utility for the tractor, with deferring the boom until the fall. Tom, can you wait till the fall on the boom, or vice versa?
Yes, the boom can wait, yes.
Okay, 64,000 on the utility tractor from free cash, the second payment on the road sweeper from free cash, the wage classification study from free cash.
Eddie?
And the first year of a 7-year payment on the fire engine from free cash.
Hey, Ed?
Yep.
So Chief, hey, looking back at that, you said 40, can we make that 45? That would be a good figure right there.
Okay, and then we'll address it in the fall if it's less. That's fine.
Yes, right. So the 45 would be a good number.
Okay. So where does that, if we do those as free cash, where does that leave our free cash balance after all of the free cash requests?
201,148.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Because everyone knows I don't like to rate all the free cash before town meeting, because you never know what potentially could come up, and that will just roll into next year's free cash.
Yeah.
So we'll be guaranteed 200,000 in free cash to get us started. And I think I won't stop putting you on the hot seat, Chris, even though I know you're leaving, to give me a number before you leave, because we won't get to the end of the year by then. And then the secondary recommendation would be to transfer from capital stabilization $100,000 for the forestry truck. Anyone have any questions on those before I make motion recommendations?
That would put us at about 301 then, for free cash.
Oh yeah, that would put us at
Oh, yeah.
301, right? Right? Because that 100's not coming from free cash, that'd be coming from.
I'm gonna take that out of capital stabilization.
Yep, that's the recommendation.
Okay.
I throw that out for discussion. I mean, that's up to the committee. Do you guys want to put free cash at 200 and leave the 100 in stabilization? I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because we're committed to put some more money back into capital depending on what comes in from free cash. So
I just think leaving it in free cash gives us more flexibility.
okay. So the recommendation would be the following: to transfer from free cash 108,514 for a lease payment on a fire engine, $45,000 for a police vehicle, $64,029 for utility tractor with 21-foot, no, but we're deferring the boom until the fall. $50,562 for the second payment of the road sweeper. $9,000 for a wage classification study. And then $1,705.55 for prior year bills. $260,000 for the final DR assessment for FY21, and $60,653.17 to be returned to the conservation fund. Is that in form of a motion? Do I have a recommendation on that? So, as recommended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
Second on discussion? Peter?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
aye,
Chairman votes aye. I think the last ones would be that we recommend $25,000 from CPC for, is that, oh, was it the historical survey? What is that?
Yeah,
What do we need to do on that, Mr. Administrator?
Yes, so what I would recommend is recommending the $25,000 appropriation from CPC with the understanding that once that $25,000 is spent and the project is complete, half of that, $12,500, will be reimbursed by the Mass Historical Commission in the form of a grant.
Okay. So move recommending $25,000 from CPC for historical survey. Is there a motion?
so moved,
Is there a second?
Second.
On discussion? And then Peter,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Catherine,
aye,
and the chairman votes aye. A recommendation of $100,000 from capital stabilization for the purchase of a forestry truck. Is there a motion?
And just one question for the Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen. Will they be looking to replenish in the fall out of free cash?
yeah, speaking for myself, I would say yes, absolutely. And as much as we can put in there.
Len, do you have any comment?
Yes, and I agree. Working with Mr. Rendon and the Capital Outlay Committee, a real, like funding for capital stabilization is going to be a priority. So that will be a priority of mine to recommend as well.
Okay. Mr. Hall, did you have anything you want to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so on that, Mr. Roach? Did we vote on that yet? I don't think so. Catherine?
aye,
Robert?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. And the last one would be, what do we need to do anything on the shared streets?
I think a recommendation to reappropriate would be in order, Mr. Chair.
Those funds are sitting in a special article.
Yes, they are.
Can't believe we've had $119,000 sitting around since 2017.
So if I may, please, and Mike, you can back me up on this. So right now, the actual balance of that appropriation is $310 less than what you see there in the column. So the actual money available is $118,529 to reappropriate. If the total project cost ends up being $118,039, you'll either have to vote additional funding or vote it out of taxation at fall town meeting.
Okay. Motion to recommend a reappropriation of funds from special article from 2017 of $118,529.
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
On discussion? Peter?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Catherine?
aye,
And the chairman votes aye. I
Mr.
think,
Schwartz,
Yes, Mr.
I
Hall.
do have a question.
Sure.
Regarding the feasibility study, will FinCom be making a recommendation on that figure?
So I don't, well, does the town administrator have anything he wants to add to that?
So this was one of the most difficult parts of the process for me in recommending that it be deferred. Because Mr. Cavallo and the Trails Committee have been doing incredible work. And we, based on the proposed trail system, we have a partnership with the city of Taunton as well. $30,000, I would really like to revisit this in the fall. Like ideally, this would be funded now. One of my hopes is that with actually CPC funding in the open space component of CPC as well, that we might also be able to revisit this with CPC as well, because ideally this would be a project, just in my opinion, that the CPC would, is right up the CPC alley rather than relying on free cash or other funding to be able to do this.
So is there an amount in your mind, Mr. Administrator, or I don't know if Mr. Cavallo's on here, or Mr. Hall, that we could commit to show that the town does think this is a worthwhile project that they could work with between now and fall special town meeting to get them started?
See, the question I have is the CPC, I believe, took a look at this request and rejected it originally.
Do we know what the rationale was for rejection of it?
No, I don't.
Oh, and I'm under the same understanding, Mr. Chair, which is why I would like to ideally, get CPC, into a place where they're comfortable on talking or discussing with trails. But I mean, in terms of the feasibility study, I think if we were to move forward with it, to be able to put something out to bid, I mean, I really haven't heard of any type of study, on these type of projects for anything less than 30, in order to put something out to bid.
Okay, do we lose anything other than time by waiting till the fall?
It's a hard thing because, there is an effort already underway with the legislature, with a environmental bond bill that Senator Pacheco got an amendment to help connect the trails. If that is funded and we could put a feasibility study in place, we could have the Dayton part of it really study to make everything shovel ready. To that same point, the same priority has also been brought forward to Congressman Auchincloss's office as well.
So they won't have a budget finalized till October. So by the time the environmental bond bill gets signed, that would be November, December, January. So I don't know if we'll really be that much behind the 8 ball for that. So I would recommend that we hold off and don't make a recommendation until we get more information.
Okay.
I would agree, Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Hull.
Yeah, maybe the CPC will reconsider too.
Yep. So, okay. And Mr. Administrator, is there anything else needed of the Finance Committee for preparation of the budget, other than I will meet with Leanne and Karen to finalize the motions?
Yeah, to my knowledge, Mr. Chair, and thank you and the committee for your patience in getting up everything with me up to speed. I think we're in a very decent place, and I think we have everything covered. Am I correct, Mr. Laviolette?
Yep, I would concur with that.
Is there anything the Board of Selectmen would like to add, or any of the department heads?
No, just that the Board of Selectmen tomorrow night will be reviewing the recommendations in all the warrant articles. And I appreciate what you, Mr. Chairman, and the FinCom has recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Mr. Hall?
We're good, thank you.
All right, any of the department heads? Tom? Who else is here? The police chief, fire chief? I'm just trying to see who else is hung out with us tonight. That's really it. So I want to thank the committee. I know it's the combination Zoom this and you know, we actually, we condensed it pretty good. I think we did a total of what, six meetings. It's not always easy. Someday it'll be back to the way it used to be, where we can sit in a room and get it all done. But I appreciate everybody's efforts and I thank you all for putting up with me. So, but thanks again. Peter, do you have anything?
I'm good.
Robert?
No, all set.
Catherine, you survived your first budget hearings. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So from the Finance Committee, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, can I just have one more thing, just really quick, I'll be brief. On the agenda, I added the Capital Outlay Committee, conversation of an appointee. In reading of the bylaw, the FinCom is able to designate one of its members as a member of the Capital Outlay Committee. In addition to that, I believe in interpreting the bylaw, both the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen also have the ability to appoint actually a resident at large from the community. So that is something that the FinCom still has available to do. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
We will search out a resident at large who would like to serve on that.
Okay. That's all I have. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
As a reminder to the FinCom members, I'm sure you will be receiving an email from our current moderator asking you for your intentions if you would like to be reappointed. So I haven't had a conversation with him, but I'm assuming that within the next few weeks, we will all get that email. So, motion to adjourn. Catherine?
Aye.
Robert? Yep.
Aye.
Robert? The FinCom is adjourned. I turn it over to you, Mr. Pacheco.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Just want to remind the Board of Selectmen Hull, that tomorrow night we're going to be reviewing all the budget items that we discussed tonight. So if you have that opportunity to take a look at what was just recommended, tomorrow night's meeting might go a little quicker. But I'm prepared to make recommendations tomorrow night, and I know that you are too. Mr.
Yes, I am. I've took good copious notes this evening, so.
Good. So I will, unless the town administrator has anything else for the Board of Selectmen, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion?
I'll step down and second that motion. Mr. Hull, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
And Ken Pacheco also votes aye. See you tomorrow night, Selectman Hull and Town Administrator, and I think
Yes.
Chris, you'll be there, and anybody else that wants to join us.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you, everybody.
good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.